Hey guys, I put the Motorola 9L1 TV back together. I'll save that for another day. What I'd like to show you now is another item I picked up recently. Or more accurately, I didn't pick it up, rather a friend dropped it off. I was talking to him on the phone the other day and he mentioned he had a Brunswick radio. Well, I don't know a whole lot about Brunswick radios other than it's the same company that makes bowling balls and pool tables and based out of Canada, I believe. And they did make a whole bunch of radios back in the day, lots of different models, so he described it to me a little bit and showed me an eBay link to one that he said looked very similar, which was a Model 5, and indeed that is what it is, more specifically a Model 5KR. There's also a model that's very, very similar looking, except that it says super het down in here. It's a super heterodyne, whereas this is a TRF, or tuned radio frequency. Now, this is a nice addition to my collection because I do not have any radios in what I think is sometimes called the coffin form, or like the big long box. These were from the early mid-20s. I think this one in particular is from 1926 or thereabouts. It's essentially the same as a Radiola 18. Just three basic controls in the front: your power, tuning, and volume. This does not have a built-in speaker. You would need to attach an external high impedance speaker. There's a few different styles you can use with it, or a few different models, I should say. I'll try to track down probably an RCA 103 or something similar. So a speaker comes in a little box, a few different styles, and it would like sit up here and connect to a couple wires. As for the insides, I'm happy to say that this is an AC powered radio. A lot of these are powered by batteries, but this does actually run off of the AC line voltage, and it even has a jumper somewhere down in there so you can use 110 or 120. I have a little bit higher than 120 around here. It's more like 125, but that's close. So the transformer shouldn't, or this transformer should be able to handle it if I was just to plug this directly into the wall with the modern line voltages. Anyways, the wiring is pretty nasty. I believe these are the two wires that would go to the speaker. And here is what remains of the power cord. No, I will not be plugging this in. Until I do a full overhaul, including rewiring. It does have all the tubes. Starting over here, we've got a Type 80. It's the rectifier to convert the AC to DC. And then we got, I think, 5 Type 26 tubes, and then a Type 71A output tube. Nice globe style. I really hope that one's good because they're a little expensive to replace. I think I do have at least a couple globe Type 26s, so I should be able to replace these varying styled ones with all globe. This one in particular looks a bit odd because it's not only... it is a Type 27. That may be right. I gotta double check the schematic. I thought it was all 26s, but perhaps... Yeah, okay, actually these are 4 pins, that is 5, so... I guess it's 4 Type 26s and a Type 27. Right away I noticed a couple minor condition issues. One is that there should be a hood over here. And there's dial light there, and the hood would, I imagine, kind of direct the light down onto the dial. Also notice the dial does not turn, and that is because it got mushed in here. There should be a little metal nub that sticks out on either side here. This one got smashed in right into the dial, and it's just binding it up pretty badly. I'm hoping I can just pop off a few screws holding this on and extricate it, and that'll free up the tuning mechanism. It's Pretty basic radio. I was reading online about these, and somebody at the Antique Radio Forum commented that these are nearly impossible to kill, so we'll see. I have not looked into the set any further than this right now. I'm kind of curious to see what the condition's like underneath. For sure, I know we got bad wiring and the transformers are really rusty. But hopefully that's just a cosmetic issue and the transformers are still fine inside. So I'm going to flip this around or upside down or whatever and see if we can access the bottom of the chassis and see what condition it's in. I turned the set around and discovered that the back does come off. It's held on with some brass screws. Good thing they're brass too, because otherwise I imagine it'd be quite rusty. The set does appear to have been in some type of humid environment. There's warping on the wood here, and of course we saw the rusty transformers from the top. And now we can see the chassis is quite rusty too. Huh, that's curious. I wonder what these are. Huh, maybe these were, this is the audio output, not sure. But they do appear to be jacks of some type. There's a toggle switch here. That may very well be for the 120 operation selector. It's a curious socket on the Type 80. It's up about ½ an inch off the chassis. Maybe that was for ventilation. This chassis is not quite so rusty. Perhaps it was up a bit higher. So from what I can see, doesn't look too bad under there. Only one way to find out for sure though. I need to figure out how to get that open. Or maybe I just have to pull the chassis out. Look on the bottom, maybe there are bolts come up. That's what's holding everything in place. Okay, there are screws underneath holding the chassis in. However, before I can pull it out, I've got to get the knobs off, and they are stuck on there really good, so this could be a little tricky. I went searching online for tips on pulling stubborn knobs off, and I found a thread on the Antique Radio Forum about this specific radio. One of the ideas was to wrap an old sock around and pull on it, and amazingly that actually worked. So I was able to get one knob off. Also some good tips before you put the knob back on to sand down the old shaft, put some Vaseline on it. And you can see it got rusty, which makes the surface rough, and that's why they're so hard to pull off. This one seems to be on a little bit tighter, but I'll try to get the sock in there. Another suggestion was to use a screwdriver with a piece of cardboard between it and the cabinet so you don't damage the cabinet, or in this case the nameplate. I'm a little leery of doing this though because I don't want to crack the knob. So I'll see what I can do. I was able to use the same sock trick and got that knob off too. Now let's see if we can get this plate off. And ooh, that screw's really rusty. Let's see if we can get this plate off and free up that tuning drum. Trying to clear out the channel here, corrosion and dirt, and maybe the screwdriver can get a better grip. There we go. I'll definitely be replacing that screw, and I will replace it with a brass one. Oh, good. I thought it'd be hung up more on the drum, but nope. Came out real easy. So now you can see how mangled that got somehow. It should be symmetrical. There should be a pointer just like this over here, but instead, boy, it looks like somebody took like a nail set and just and whacked on it. I don't know how else that could get like that. I'll try to bend it back as best I can. Looks like I got nailed up here pretty good too, and actually cracked the metal a little bit. Well, you never know. I can ask online. Somebody just might have a spare panel, that is. So, does this turn now? No, it does not. There's more to this issue. There we go. Yeah, it does indeed. I'm sure those bearings are bone dry with hardened grease. So, I'm not going to muck with it anymore. I don't want to break it. Something else I just noticed. There's a picture of somebody selling a similar radio on eBay, and on that set, it's got all the station numbers penciled in. Well, that's because there aren't any on here, I think. What I mean by that is I've seen some that just go from 0 to 100. But I could be wrong about that. Let's see. Yeah, this just goes from 00 to 100, I think. So let's see, it's 25, 30, 35, 40. And the AM band, well, of course, only goes from like a 550 to 1650 or so. Alright, so with that out of the way, I think now I'll probably have to loosen up the power switch as well. I wasn't having any luck trying to loosen this nut on the power switch, but I discovered that if I unscrew the plate, I can actually pull the switch out. So now what I'll try doing is holding the body of the switch and rotating this plate, see if I can get that nut loose. Alright. Cool. I think, well, I can finally pull the chassis out.